Starting off, obviously there will be some very light spoilers abound with regards to world mechanics for One Piece. I'm also assuming you have some grasp of the One Piece world and don't require in-depth explanations for world mechanics like how Devil Fruits and Haki work. With tabletop RPG characters, typically you start off with some kind of concept or general idea, and generally you know the direction you want to go. If you don't, then this video is for you. I'm going to tell you what to think about and how I would translate certain aspects of One Piece into Mutants and Masterminds. In order to create a character, I suggest you think about the following things exclusive to One Piece. Race/species, whether or not you have a Devil Fruit, whether or not you have Haki, and your allegiance to chaotic pirates or the somewhat orderly world government. Obviously, you'll have to worry about the same things you would if you were making a non-One Piece character, like backstory, motivations, and complications in your build. But that should go without saying, and that is not the focus today. Race/species, lore and roleplay. Each race has different world lore and potential social upbringing which will determine the boundaries of the character you'll be able to play. You don't have to 100% adhere to these expectations, but they are fun guidelines for you to follow and give each character a specific gameplay feeling or flavor. Playing as someone who has never encountered humans or human culture could be very interesting. Inversely, playing as a race with a negative perception of humans would cause friction, and in time may lead to eventually overcoming those feelings, or the character could even give into them deeper, potentially leading to a villainous turnabout. Racial powers. Simply put, every race has certain things they are innately capable of. Sometimes you just want to play a character because you want a great build. Let's be clear, you really can't go wrong with breathing underwater. Potential and upper limits, and how characters tend to break them. Each race has a set of limitations placed upon their maximum potential, at least for the average individual. Humans can only be so strong, and fishmen or giants will always outclass the average human. Your game master may wish to adhere strictly to this theoretical max potential, with only notable exceptions breaking these rules. Of course, players tend to be the exception, so they may decide that anyone can be super. I always recommend asking your game master about things like this before you get committed to any ideas. As an aside, Zoro tends to regularly break the power threshold expected of ordinary people, and as far as I know, this is just because he's built different. Certain techniques like fishman martial arts or mantra can be learned by other races. It might not be off limits forever, but it could be more difficult to learn later versus being accessible from character creation depending on your chosen race. Now, I'm not very familiar with every race here because I've only watched up to Dressrosa as of right now, and for the races I haven't seen yet, I did a bit of wiki surfing, so if I'm incorrect, please understand. Race/species shorthand guidelines. Humans. Standard. Nothing special, with human stat limitations. Roleplay opportunities. Humans can do and be nearly anything. The most interesting human-exclusive roleplay opportunities they have involve how other races have dealt with humanity. Giants. Big humans with an innate and permanent growth power, and a higher base stat potential due to this. Roleplay opportunities. Noble warriors, formidable foes and allies. They might make sailing a problem, but that's funny. Fishmen. Better humans. You can breathe underwater and swim much faster. They are said to be 10 times stronger than a human on land and 20 times stronger underwater. If 7 is peak for humanity, that puts Fishman at 10 or 11. I'm not saying Arlong was right, but roleplay opportunities. They may have a prejudice towards humanity or surface races, either from real or perceived injustices. Speedy swimming and water breathing is incredibly useful in an ocean world. Flex it. Hard. Mermaids. The young are unable to walk on land and should have a complication putting their land movement at rank -2, 5 to 10 feet. At age 30 plus, they can walk on land. They should have amazing swim speed and ability to breathe underwater, but roughly human stat limitations. Roleplay opportunities. Identical to fishmen. Slavery is more of a worry for mermaids than mermen, but both of them should stay on guard. Skypians. Humans with a slight inclination towards mantra. They have vestigial wings, but they don't do anything. Roleplay opportunities. Being from Skypia means a lot of things are new to you. Mundane, ordinary things like dirt or verth. Lean into it. Many of them may also miss the protection of their god. Minks. Furry mammalian humanoids with excellent base stat potential during their whole lifetime. Somewhat fast injury recovery and good metabolism. They can also use Electro. Sulong form is a very situational emergency button, but can be leaned into if the game master allows it. Maybe playing your big assaults during nights of the full moon, if that isn't too predictable. Roleplay opportunities. Minks can vary a lot for their roleplay expectations, but at minimum they have a very different perspective than humans. If anything, hate-cramming humans by calling them lesser minks is entertaining. The Kujas. An all-female Amazoness-type tribe. They are naturally born with a higher propensity toward Haki and often use primitive weapons like bows and arrows. Roleplay opportunities. Born on the isolated island of Amazon Lily, they can only give birth to girls. They are powerful warrior women who have likely not seen many men before. There's a lot to love here, and that's not just their beauty. Tuntata Dwarves. Minuscule humanoids with crazy high strength and agility. They should have an innate and permanent shrinking power. Roleplay opportunities. Tiny funny guys. They're pretty gullible and very whimsical. As usual, they have a history of slavery under humans. Long limb humans. There are various human subspecies with long body parts. Arms, legs, necks, you name it. They often view their subspecies as superior. It's that simple. Mixed species. In addition to the races I've named, most of these species have been mixed and matched with humans. Theoretically, you can have strange combinations, like fishman dwarves or long-legged giants, and so on. I don't know if minks can breed with humans, but it's Oda we're talking about, so probably yes. Devil fruit or no? Having a devil fruit in an ocean world is a massive choice. Drowning will always be a threat, and water can take you out instantly. I can say firsthand from my brother dealing with it, water will come up extremely often, and all it takes is a single unhinged fishman to grab and drag you under the water, and then the fight's over. Being fully submerged in water equals incapacitation for the duration and potentially additional rounds as you get your strength back, depending on the length of submerge. Hydrophobic complication. Because it's expected for those who take a devil fruit, I probably wouldn't even award hero points for having to deal with complications, as the reward is the power. You'll want to choose a type. Paramecia for miscellaneous powers or body morphing, Zone for animal type powers, mythic or otherwise, and Logia for very strong but simple powers, plus typically mundane weapon immunity. Counter elements, stronger elements, or Haki are required to damage the body of Logia users. Actually, the Green Lightning RPG has a really cool devil fruit chart, so game masters can roll random devil fruits. Just don't accidentally roll the poop Logia. I typically roll 6 fruits and let my players decide their favorite. Like a gacha system, but less predatory. Link will be in the description. Haki or no? An extremely powerful technique that uses spiritual energy. Everyone is capable of it, but not everyone has the discipline to master it or even use it. Conqueror's Haki is the rarest. Because anyone can acquire Haki, and because of its great power and utility, it typically require a hefty buy-in in the form of at least having a 10 in a relevant ability score before allowing characters to purchase Haki. This isn't strictly necessary, as characters still have to purchase the powers themselves. Conqueror's Haki. Having a willpower so strong it smothers all others around you. Extremely rare and has the potential to be quite strong. I've personally limited it to only characters who have a minimum presence of 10. I choose to represent this with an area burst, will-based affliction, that inflicts dazed, then hindered, then incapacitated. 30-foot radius is good, but if you can get extra points, pump the area or the intensity even higher. Armament Haki. An incredible defensive shield or hugely penetrating weapon, even capable of hurting damage-resistant devil fruit users. I limit this to only characters with a 10 in fighting or dexterity. I choose to represent this with the extras impervious toughness and penetrating. In order to even scratch the target, you'll have to have some level of the extra penetrating on your damage, whether from Haki or from elsewhere. Observation Haki, sometimes called mantra, is basically a psychic sixth sense that allows people to sense things they otherwise couldn't, and sometimes even predict very near future events. I limit it to those with a 10 in awareness. Something as simple as having impervious dodge and parry defenses would work out just fine. You can also justify gaining most of the additional senses under the senses power this way. Pirates vs. Government. Chaos vs. Law. In a more traditional tabletop RPG like, say, Pathfinder, you have alignments ranging from good to evil and chaos to law. In Mutants and Masterminds, such limitations are suggestions and are enforced by the world order itself. Criminals are prosecuted by police, and criminals fight back against them. Evildoers are taken down by good heroes who will seek to ally with one another for security. As a rule of thumb, Marines are lawful and desire stability, but can range from evil killers to good-hearted peacekeepers. Pirates buckle on order in pursuit of their own ideals free from societal expectations, for better or for worse. Ideologically, Luffy is chaotic neutral, but in terms of deed, he's almost always chaotic good. You have to decide if your loyalties lie with your own ideals, in a higher belief or institution, or somewhere in between. It's sort of like the difference between chaotic and lawful in Dungeons & Dragons. And don't forget that some abilities, like the 6 powers, might be restricted to marine backgrounds. Traveling. I will highlight 2 ways to potentially handle ocean travel. Your players may use the vehicle system under Chapter 7 Gadgets and Gear in the 3rd edition handbook to purchase a boat themselves. This gives them flexibility and customizability with their chosen vehicle. There should be a bit of in-universe explanation, or they could have it on character creation. Another way to handle it is just hand-waving it away as a game master. Treat the boat like a set piece. Travel time can happen off-screen and mostly exist as a resting period. A game master that wants to focus on the survival aspect could pull the travel system from something like Pathfinder, with hexes and travel time based on ground speed, or instead even homebrew something themselves. Each character will probably need a certain amount of food for each day, week, or month of sea travel. Maybe food is acquired abstractly as players stop at ports. Maybe skills like stealth or sleight of hand can steal them from the unwary. Perception and insight can identify good food in the wilds. Expertise in cooking, fishing, and foraging, etc. can grant a certain amount of food and keep players healthy. Consider coming up with believable events that could occur at sea, such as damage to the ship, random encounters with weather, illnesses acquired from far-flung islands. Having players use their skills to succeed at these skill challenges will keep them on their toes and keep the game interesting and feeling different. Really, that's most of what you have to worry about, but you should remember the small details too. What stretch of sea are you from? The Four Blues, Paradise, or the New World? Have you had any run-ins with the Marines or pirate crews before? Remember the non-One Piece details you'll still have to stitch together. Family, friends, your reason for adventuring in the first place. Generally, I think you now have everything you need for a grand adventure. Once you find a willing game master, of course.